Sideline Guys, Adam Schinder, Mark Robarge back again, midweek edition of the show, a special midweek edition because yesterday, Wednesday, Section 2 boys and girls basketball playoff seedings were drawn. Tournaments begin. We've got our first game tomorrow night, a playoff playing game. Girls Class B is Broad Alban Perth hosts Emma Willard, but the big action starts Tuesday night, and that includes the Class AA boys, where Amsterdam, they are the 7 seed out of the Big Ten. They take on the 2nd seed out of the Suburban Council, controversially since they're an independent, Albany Academy. How far do you think the Running Rams can go?
Well, Joe Agresta wasn't happy with this pairing. He thought that Albany Academy would be dropped on the Big Ten side of the bracket, but after Colony and Boston Spa opted out, they moved Albany Academy over there to the Suburban side to kind of balance out the teams. Not good news for Amsterdam. Albany Academy, I think, is probably a close third among the AA teams, just a hair behind Shenendehowa. They played a really tough schedule. Only a 9-9 record. Doesn't look on the surface to be very good, but the fact of the matter is they only played 6 Section 2 teams, went 5-1 against those teams, and played a bunch of other teams, some of whom are nationally renowned. You know, you got to say Amsterdam has showed some flashes of competence, if not brilliance, throughout the season. I don't think they're going to have the chance to do that against Albany Academy. I think this game is going to be over early, and it's going to be over big.
Yeah, this has been if this was a couple weeks ago when Amsterdam was coming off a win over Catholic Central, an overtime game against LaSalle, a very good showing against Schenectady, they would probably have a better chance. The last 3 or 4 games of the season just have not been good. They've been blown out a couple of times. Academy is a team that is very used to being in the semifinals, not even the finals of this tournament. They're not as strong as they have been the last few years when they had some legit Division I talent, but it just looks like this is another year where it's a bad matchup right off the bat for Amsterdam. But looking at Class AA as a whole, I can't pick anyone else but CBA.
No, absolutely not. I mean, Shen has had a good season on the Suburban side, but CBA is probably one of the top 3 or 4 AAs in the state, so I don't see them having any problem. Shen might give them a little bit of a scare, but I don't think it's going to be much.
No, CBA is balanced. The defending state champions, they can shoot, they can play inside, and the Big Ten just tends to dominate this tournament. Absolutely. And you have not seen a Suburban Council. You've seen teams get to the finals, but you have not seen a Suburban team win this tournament in a very long time.
All right, let's head on down to the Double Bs and step down. Broad Alban Perth, the lone local participant in that tournament. They open up in the first round. They're the 10 seed. They open up against number 7 Hudson on the road. Once again, you know, if this game had been played maybe 2 months ago, you would have liked Broad Alban Perth's chances, but since Christmas, it's been like a schizophrenic team. They've gone in absolutely the opposite direction.
No, they are a very much a Jekyll and Hyde team. They can score with just about anyone in the entire section. Their problem has been when they do not play defense, they do not win, and there have been way too many times this year when they do not play defense, especially on the inside, because if one of their big guys gets in foul trouble, they're in a lot of trouble. They have no size on the bench. That said, they're a sleeper team, because if they get hot, they can win 2 games and get to the Glens Falls Civic Center.
Absolutely, but we've been waiting for them to get hot since Christmas, and I just figure if they haven't gotten it together yet, under the pressure cooker of the sectionals, I don't think they do it yet. I see them going out in the first round, and even if they were to get through to Glens Falls, they've got a heck of a team in Schenectady Christian waiting for them. Fort Plain found the solution against them the other night in the WAC Cup, but you've got to have just that special kind of defensive team that Fort Plain has. I don't think anybody else in that bracket has that kind of defense. I think Schenectady Christian rolls right through to win a Class B title.
Schenectady Christian's the obvious favorite, and I think they've probably got a very good chance of winning this tournament. If I'm going to go with someone else, I'm actually going to go a little deeper down the bracket into the Colonial Council, the number 6 seed Cohoes.
Yeah.
This is a team that is really a 6 seed because of the virtue of the fact that they play in a very, very tough league.
Yep.
They're still among the top seeds coming out of that Colonial Council. They've got a great player in Malcolm Shivers. They can really make something happen. Saratoga Catholic might have stepped up a little bit in my eyes had they not dropped their game to Schenectady Christian and lost Dale Long for the season.
Absolutely. Now, going down to the Bs, Fonda gets a 5 seed. Fonda has looked a little bit better of late. Couple of big games. They look good against Watervliet. Heading in, they open against Tamarack. I think they can win that one. It's a 5-12 game. Got to watch out. But I think Eric Wilson's got these guys on the right track. They get the winner of Corinth and Greenville. If they get past Tamarack, I like their chances there as well, which gets them to Glens Falls again.
And this team is very familiar with Glens Falls. 4 times in the last 5 years, they've been to Glens Falls, Section 2 Class B champions. A year ago, they've only got one significant player back from that team in Luke Nethaway. But Eric Wilson is a guy who knows how to coach in the playoffs.
And those guards have actually started showing some signs of life on offense, which is what we've been waiting for out of them all season.
Yeah. And the Bs are not as deep as the double Bs. They really are only maybe 4 or 5 deep.
The problem is that standing between them and a championship this year is that same Waterville Elite team that just destroyed them on the road early in the season and managed to hold them off in Fonda just a couple of weeks ago. I don't see anybody topping Waterville Elite. I think Fonda could get past Hoosick Falls and make it to the championship game, but
yeah, even though Hoosick Falls is the number 1 seed here, I think Waterville Elite is, in my mind, the favorite.
Absolutely.
The 2 Gleasons, Griffin Kelly, it's a very balanced and very explosive team when they want to be.
And finally, heading down into the C's where we've got 3 local teams going. Obviously, the one to talk about is Fort Plain coming off that big WAC Cup upset over Schenectady Christian. They go in as a 2 seed, bracketed between a couple of Adirondack teams, Argyle and Lake George. I'll tell you what, the way they're playing defense right now, the way they're playing as a team, I've got to give Fort Plain the edge going all the way through here.
I mean, I can't see Fort Plain getting anywhere that's not the Civic Center. Once they get to Glens Falls, you run into a very tough potential double. Lake George was the number 1 team, is still at this point the number 1 team in the state. They won't be anymore after losing Tuesday night to Argyle, who was the number 2 team in the state. Yep. So basically running the gauntlet against the 2 top teams in the state back to back. Is it possible? Yes, they just beat the number 4 team in the state in Schenectady Christian.
In double B at that, a much larger school.
In double B. What I've got to give the edge to right now is Argyle, just because I think they're the hot team right now. I think Argyle kind of reminds me a little bit, in what I've heard of them, of Spa Catholic, in that they're a very quick team, and Spa Catholic's quickness was what gave Fort Plain trouble.
But I guess the thing that makes me favor Fort Plain is simply that they have done it against larger school competition. Argyle, Lake George, Adirondack League, much smaller schools. They don't have that depth of strength of schedule, if you want to call it, that Fort Plain has. Fort Plain, I believe, 4-2 against B schools this year. They've shown me that they can do it. That they're not afraid of anybody. And like I said, I just can't say enough after watching them just totally deflate a Schenectady Christian team that was coming in undefeated, unchallenged basically throughout the entire season.
It wouldn't surprise me at all to see the Hilltoppers go through and bring a sectional title. Just going to be a very tough road. I don't think anyone can argue that.
Other 2 local teams out of the C's, we've got Canajoharie going. They get an opening round game against Schoharie, which I don't think was actually a fair call. I don't think you match up teams from the same, not just the same league, but the same division of the league, the WAC South, in the first round. I think that was a pretty bad call by the seeding committee. I think Schoharie knocks Canajoharie out. Schoharie's a really good team. They came on very strong at the end of the season to edge out Sharon Springs for the second place behind Schenectady Christian in the South. The other team you got is Mayfield, who has looked really good as well, other than as long as they're not playing Schenectady Christian or Fort Plain or Spa Catholic, they're a pretty good team. They got Rensselaer in the first round. I think they get past them, but their second round opponent would be Fort Plain.
Yeah, and that has not been a good matchup for them this season. Let's move to the girls' tournament.
Yep.
Just briefly, AA Amsterdam, they're the 5th seed out of the Big Ten. They'll take on Bethlehem, and this is an Amsterdam team that has, at points, despite a ton of inexperience, they've got no seniors left on this team. They've come close against some of the Big Ten's best a number of times this season, but the difference between the top of the Big Ten and the top of the Suburban Council is traditionally a whole lot.
And as I talked to Eric Doomler, the Amsterdam coach, yesterday, the difference in the seedings was so great that if they'd have managed a couple more wins to get the one higher seed on the Big Ten side, they would have had a much easier opponent. Instead of number 4 Bethlehem, number 5 Niskayuna was barely a 500 team. But a few close games that they've lost throughout the season is going to cost them big time here. I don't see them getting past Bethlehem. Overall in the AA's, I have a hard time picking against anybody against Shenandoah. Shenandoah's girls have looked pretty much unstoppable this season.
Pretty much the prevailing wisdom. Class B, Broadalbin Perth, 14 seed takes on 19 seed Emma Willard. It's a huge class. And BP can win this game.
Yeah,
but
then they get Cahos.
They'd get Cahos, and the Colonial Council for the girls is just loaded.
Yeah.
You've got Maple Hill's the number 1 seed here, Hoosick Valley's the number 2, Cahos number 3, Watervliet, the defending sectional champion, is the 4 seed. This is not a tournament that the Lady Patriots are going to love.
No, and I'll take Cahos to win that one. I think they've looked really sharp as well. Going to the C's, finishing up, we got 2 teams competing in the C's. Fort Plain, who I thought really got jobbed getting an 11 seed with just an incredible season in which they finished up as the WAC North co-champions. They get to travel to Lake George, which is, they should have gotten a much better placement than this. I think they beat Lake George. I think the problem is that next up for them would be Cambridge, and Cambridge is really tough.
Yeah, this is a really, really deep
Absolutely.
Class C bracket, and it's traditionally ruled by those teams up north in the Adirondack League. Plus, you've got Voorheesville, a Colonial Council team, is the number 1 seed. Argyle 2, Cambridge 3. You get Canajahari girls brought down to number 5 despite winning the WAC title.
Yeah.
And that just shows the tradition that comes out of that Adirondack League. The Canajahari girls can certainly get to Hudson Valley Community College because they've got great players inside, and when their shooting holds up, they're very dangerous.
But what I think is going to spell the end to them once they get to Hudson Valley is the fact that they have no depth. WAC Cup game against Burnox, played 5 starters, they played the entire game. I think that's okay against lower level talent, but when you get going against the Cambridges and the Voorheesvilles and like that, it's going to cost them. I've got Voorheesville winning the whole thing.
Yeah, right now I can't argue against Voorheesville either. Argyle's certainly a very good team. We'll be back Monday with a look at some of these games in depth. Until then, he's Mark, I'm Adam, and we'll see you next time at SidelineGuys.RecorderNews.com.